on 9 o'clock tonight. Open well past 9. Yes.
All right. Let's kick this pig.
Come on.
I'd like to open up this council meeting for January 17th, 2017. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, Twyla.
Is roll call. Councilor Albert?
Here.
Councilor Kobe? Here. Councilor Crawford?
Here.
Councilor Lunt?
Here.
Councilor Ward?
Here.
Councilor Crafts?
Here.
And Councilor Brunel?
Here.
Moving right along.
Is good news and recognition.
All right. Yes, Roger, we summoned you. We were actually hoping to get your counterpart. We figured if we were going to bring him here to public tonight, it would actually inconvenience you one more time. But Florida. He took off to Florida, so absolutely. We have a presentation because you said no to anything on anything for any sort of recognition whatsoever.
Right.
This is our violation of that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming back.
I'm gonna join you because I got a bad cold. Anybody else to get it?
Appreciate it.
Okay.
I was prepared to deliver yours to the garage.
Really?
Yes, I was.
You would be in very good company. You come to visit me in my.
Yeah, it's much better to see you in person so everybody can share in that moment, but by all means.
I got a cough drop, not chewing tobacco.
It's all, yeah, I could catch the menthol when I actually caught his breath, so sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Moving right along. Anybody else got anything? Got any words? That's a no. We'll keep moving.
There's no public hearing, so the next item would be audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody would like to speak before the council tonight? Seeing none, moving right along.
Next item is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered next. Seeing none. Order 2017-09 to approve the accounts payable and payroll warrants, number 92, number 93, number 94, number 95, and number 96, along with the minutes of January 3, 2017.
Need a motion?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Anybody's caught the difference in the order associated with that? We have somebody coming from the outside auditors that has the materials, so as soon as they are here with that, we will reconvene, just allowing them to get it from transport. Next item, 12.
Would be council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Order 2017-10, tax acquired redemption.
On January 3rd, we foreclosed on 3 properties for non-payment of real estate taxes. At the same time, we were going through the sewer lien foreclosures, and I'm pleased to say that we had no sewer lien foreclosures, just tax. So at this point in time, what normally happens is you authorize the treasurer to send out a 30-day notice of redemption, where we give the people that we foreclosed on an additional 30 days, but what they have to pay is all their taxes, including the 2017 in full, and then we do a quick claim deed back to them. So that's what we're asking you to do tonight on these 3 properties. And then one of the properties, the first one on the list, we have been in touch with the mortgage holder, and they will be paying this off, so we'll be getting full payment. The one on Summer Street, the heirs do not want it, so they will still send out the notice, but we'll end up with that piece of property. And the one on Lincoln Street, the person is deceased, and we cannot locate the heir. We did have an out-of-state address for the heir, which is no longer valid, and we've done as many searches as we can, and we can't seem to locate the heir. So I'm not sure what I'll do with that one in the future, but at this point, we'll send out the 30-day notice of redemption and then authorize me to issue quick claims when paid in full.
And the amounts listed are
the amount to get it current, or is that the amount?
Yes, that's what we need as of, that's the amount as of today. So when we
Which will
send
go
out
up
the
for interest.
30-day notice,
Right.
we'll go out 30 days because the interest will change.
It just says Summer Street. Is there an actual
It's
designation?
just a little small piece of land, and I can tell you the taxes on that were about $2 a year, so most of that $232 is costs to go through this process.
Right.
It's not worth anything to us. It would be worth something to an abutter. There's only one abutter to that piece of property, so I'll be making a recommendation as we get
Okay,
through this process.
that's fine. Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-11 drug forfeiture disbursements.
Good evening, Chief Hagan.
Hi, Rod.
During 2015-2016, Detective Sergeant Tapley was working with the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, and one of their investigations found a group of people coming up out of Massachusetts making regular trips and distributing heroin. At the end of the day, it was roughly 2,000 grams of heroin that they distributed in the area, and arrests were made. 10 people were arrested, and roughly $28,000 was seized. And that was proven to be drug money, and it was distributed amongst all the agencies that were involved. So Lisbon's percentage would be $6,986.25, and we're just recommending that the town accept this money.
Make a motion. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Order passed 7-0.
Mark? Thank you very much.
Yeah, it only hurts for a minute.
Next.
Order 2017-12 authorization to submit Maine Municipal Bond Bank application.
As part of the process to go and apply for the funds through the bond bank, we have to have an official vote from the council authorizing us to submit an application, and that's merely all we're doing tonight. The application is due February 15th.
Okay. Any questions, concerns on that? Anyone? I need a motion again.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Second. There we go. All in favor? Thank you.
Order
Crawford
passed
was the
7-0.
second. I wasn't sure if you saw that. Yeah.
I did. Thank you, though.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2017-13 authorization to solicit bids for road work.
Again, this is part of the bond bank application process. We need to get the bids out. We need to solicit bids because there's a part in the process that we have to know exactly what this is going to cost before the bond bank's finalized. We're on the solicit bids
Sorry.
For road work.
It's all good, sir.
You got heat coming now. Might be too hot. Yep, definitely. Yeah, we're here just to ask permission to go out to bid for the Summer Street, Gould Road, and Bodenham Road, roads that were approved at the last referendum in November.
Now,
That's it.
the estimates that were originally in that, are we confident that it's going to go in that dooryard of $1.5 million, or is there potential that could go
I
over?
still think we'll be, well, I think anything once we get into it. We've got, Oliver Associates is going to go around and look at all the roads, help me put together the bid specs. Our numbers for just doing the grinding and paving for those 3 roads was right around 1.2, so that left us right around $300,000 to do some other work that we haven't really determined the scope of it based on, we really didn't put a whole lot of effort into the specifics until we knew whether or not the bond was going to, or the referendum question was going to be approved or not. But we've got some areas of concern, especially on Summer Street, down by the 196 end, where it's starting to kind of slide into the treatment plant access road. It's not like it was on the Route 9 side of the river in Durham when DOT did that work, but we've got a similar scenario where the road, anyone who's driven it knows what I'm talking about. It's
starts to really lean that way, right where the guardrail is. And then the far end of Summer Street is going to require more work like we did on Amalfi, where we're going to end up having to excavate fabric, some drainage improvements and whatnot. And we haven't really looked at Bodenham Road too heavily. We do have one culvert there. That's something that we need to consider, but I don't believe that there's enough money in this proposal to do anything of significance. And that was more of a concrete patching type of project anyway. So we have a few things that we still need to look at with our consultant, but at this point we wanted to at least move forward and see where we're at with prices.
Any other questions of Ryan, guys? I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No brainer.
Next item.
Order 2017-14, Memorandum of Understanding with the Town of Winslow.
Good evening, Chief Hagan again. One of our officers is looking to move, and she'll be leaving, actually one way or the other, regardless of this agreement, she'll be leaving our area to move up to Winslow. She has applied and been hired by Winslow, and part of the agreement, there was a mandate set up several years ago by the state to make sure that officers that attend the police academy from smaller agencies, what was happening was a lot of bigger agencies would handpick people after they've been to the academy, and you take a smaller town, such as Lisbon, that has paid for all the training and the attendance at the police academy, and then they leave to go to another agency. This is a way to reimburse, and what the state mandated was that depending on how many years the officer had been with that agency, the town that's hiring the person would have to reimburse them. So basically, Officer Stewart has been here 3 years. What it works out to is $18,000 that the town of Winslow owes the town of Lisbon. Their request has been, because they don't just have $18,000 laying around to pay us, that we do it in a payment plan, which is $6,000 upon her date of hire, $6,000 as of July 1st, and then another $6,000 as of next July 1st. We don't see a problem with that. We'd like to go forward with the agreement.
Any questions of Chief?
Pretty straightforward.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2017-15, Salary Survey.
I will speak to this because I asked to have it put on the agenda. We had a very good workshop last meeting discussing a lot of items that actually are potentially going to come out in the next 3 to 5 years with our department heads associated with that. And one piece of that was a salary survey timed to actually be a free resource available from MMA to identify potential areas within our organization that might be underpaid. That said, it was one part of a much larger discussion timed to actually be before our budget deliberations so we could do something about it. I have responded to at least 3, I'm calling them witch hunts, associated with that for the sake of our department heads to actually have this open discussion with us. That document is just that. It is a good free resource that is actually, if you look under the hood associated with that, I can point to the fact that the difference between responsibilities between communities and their job descriptions. I can point to the fact that it doesn't do any flavor associated with somebody being new in the pay scale versus at the tail end of the pay scale. So it is highly subjective. I made mention to the department heads in an email that I sent to them earlier this week that I want to thank them for their effort and make this known. The fact is, it is not intended to actually be entertaining witch hunts. Anybody else have anything on the subject? Next item, please.
Is under other business, council committee reports.
I'm going to dive in. They didn't meet last night, so.
Woo! Nice.
This is two Mondays in a row. I'm doing pretty good there.
There you go. All right, Planning Board. We talked at their past meeting Thursday night and loosely spoke about their goals for the coming sessions, depending on time frame associated with that. Dawn, you can help me on this. I think it was comp plan and is asset management? Access management, thank you. Those two topics, knowing that the comp plan is over 10 years old, so updating the content associated with that. For discussion points at this point, leaving it to the function of the planning board in bringing in resources if necessary associated with that, knowing that I, as myself, as the liaison, will be the representative to at least be able to keep that in contact. Now, doesn't mean that there's any other discussion or items associated with that to be able to revisit later in the spring timeframe for a full goals if we choose to, but at least it put that dialogue on the horizon. And that would be my report. Who's next? Water Department. You're up, Mr.
As everybody probably knows, is opening for a water commissioner. So right now it's open. You can go to the town office here and get an application, or you can get one online and send it in. And we'll be accepting applications until the 31st. And then I believe we're going to meet with the Water Commission and figure out who's going to be the best one to fill that vacancy. And by February 21st, there should be a final candidate. And the Water Department has also asked, they put it out on social media, but I think we should say it here as well, when you're clearing snow from snowstorms, try to keep them away from the fire hydrants. Makes them hard to get to,
Absolutely.
as Chris can probably attest to.
And has. On that, we talked having the commissioners have some stake in the person that's ultimately appointed. So when the list of full candidates are done, what I would ask of each counselor is give me the top three so we could whittle that list down to 2 people to be able to give to the commissioners and let them weigh in at that point in time. And ultimately, by their March business meeting, they would have somebody appointed from this council to be able to keep moving forward. Who's next? LDC.
That's me. So the latest and greatest update, I just want to confirm with Dawn a short while ago. So some of the solar streetlights that were talked about in the workshop, there's been some looking into that, and it might be a little bit different than the ones that are a little bit taller than the ones we have. But I got a pretty good indication from Dawn that we're moving in the right direction, starting to put some things together. So as we get more, I will bring that to the council.
Thank you. Conservation.
I have not had a chance to meet with them yet, but I will try to get to their next meeting and get back to you.
Recreation.
Well, they haven't had a meeting, but I did speak with Mark. There's 2 openings on the committee. Next meeting is February 6th at 7 p.m. at the MTM Center. There's 3 members presently on the board. Pretty much what their big project right now is the playground project. They're looking at some grants to help fund that. And then they have the Winterfest this weekend, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday. They're expecting 300 to 400 people. Everything is free except for the dog sled rides. And Positive Change Lisbon is also assisting in this. That's all I have.
You want to run with that right now, sir, on anything from Positive Change on Winterfest? Sorry, I threw you under the bus in that regard, but I was going to wait for council communications, but it's perfect in that
Actually, I think she was
recreation
doing
report.
a good job. Speaking with Mark this week, the last year was a great event. It actually was well attended for the first year. This year, I think it's going to be more well attended because the weather looks like in the 40s versus 10 below like last year, I think it was. So looks like we have a fresh coat of snow, so all the winter events should be good. So Beaver Park, it's a great place. I think Mark's doing a great job out there, and the rec group is. So go out and enjoy it. Be a lot of good activities, and if not, just visit.
Thank you. County budget, there is nothing. As I mentioned last meeting, they've finalized the budget, so we should see that coming with our budget packets, what our percent increase there would be. Next item, Twyla.
Is the town manager's report.
The only thing I'm going to report on tonight is we're getting ready to send out reminder notices for the second half of the taxes that are due. Typically, we send out another bill, but we're not going to do that this year. What we're going to do is send out a postcard reminder, and it's going to look like this. I'll pass it around. In an effort to save costs, it's just going to be a postcard they receive in the mail, and they need to contact us if they haven't paid the first installment. Obviously, we have to collect that first before it goes to the second installment. But that's what a lot of communities are doing now in an effort to save taxes. And the original tax bill says that this is the only bill you're going to get. As a courtesy, we always send out another one because people forget. So that's going to be something new this year, that everybody's going to receive. The people that have not paid their second installment yet will receive just a postcard in the mail from us.
And the savings on that again, Diane, was what?
We figure about 400.
When you guys see the content associated with that, she's looking for direction and okay to be able to
This is the
move
first
forward.
time we've done this?
Yes.
Okay. Traditionally, we just would have sent another bill. Okay.
How much do we save by switching to the postcard from the bill?
We save about 400.
Save about $400. Okay.
Anybody have any issue, reservation with moving forward associated postcard versus?
I can't see any downside to it. Trying something new to cut costs, I think that's not a bad idea. And we'll hear very loudly from the public if they're not big fans of it and they prefer to go back to the old method. So I guess we could just give
one
it.
way or another it does the same thing.
Yeah, we'll give it a try. Can't hurt.
Good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Who's up? for-
Next item?
Yep.
Department head written reports. And first up is Ryan Layton, Public Works. Well,
Trying
written-
rock, paper, scissors, but we can let Tracy go.
oral reports,
Um,
it's written.
Really, the month of December, I don't have a whole lot to report other than it's been snowing and raining and ice and about the same pretty much on a consistent basis pretty much every week, and more coming tonight. We still do remain one truck down, so just for the benefit of informing everyone, majority of our routes, especially the main routes, are pretty consistent with what they would normally be, but everybody's picking up some additional mileage to cover for being down an entire truck at this point. We did hear from the body installer that some of the components that were necessary were back ordered, and they are still waiting for them to arrive, supposed to arrive, I believe, the end of next week. And I'm not 100% positive, but I drove by Viking today, and I believe that our loader is sitting there waiting to be outfitted with the plow and wing gear too, so hopefully our going bet was that we probably get the loader before the dump truck, and so we're about to find out.
Loader show up right about April 1st when we don't need it, right?
The truck probably at this point. From the sewer department standpoint, December was our first month in a while we've been fully staffed, and as a result, the crew took on a little bit of a bigger project where we basically our treatment process is the wastewater comes into an aeration basin. We basically operate off from one aeration basin because the design of the plant, we operated a small portion of what it was originally designed for. And so we've taken this opportunity to switch from one aeration basin to another aeration basin, which allows us to perform maintenance on the one that's been in use for quite a few years now. Our goal is to try to rotate those on a regular basis in order to clean and inspect the equipment that's located at the very bottom. And then from the transfer station standpoint, it's been a typical month, especially with the holidays. One of the biggest items I noticed was that the wood and, brush and compost was way down from the month before, which kind of makes sense considering the type of month we had from a weather standpoint. And that's pretty much all I had to report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any or elaborate on anything.
How are we on the salt issue?
The barn has been filled. We're at a better standpoint now. And quite honestly, there was a series of emails that went out from the supplier, actually through AvCog last week, indicating that, how do I want to say this nice, that they changed who we contact. It sounds like the company supplying the salt has made some changes on their end because receiving salt in a timely manner for a majority of the areas, the communities in at least serviced by AvCog was a problem, and it's something that they're looking from their end to address. So at this point, we're in a much better place. We're waiting for the next round that we just ordered, but we're in a much better position, especially for this evening, than we were with all those other ones that were kind of hitting us all at the same time. Just so everyone understands that we do, our barn can't hold enough for us to supply the entire winter. Much like Lewis and Auburn, they get everything in the summertime, stockpile it. We have to ongoing, throughout the winter order as we use it, and that's what we've been doing. And there's just been some delays on shipments, which has affected us from a level of service standpoint, but something that hopefully we can fix in the future.
Any other questions of Ryan, guys? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is Tracy Stuber, Economic Development.
Thank you. Good evening. Tracy Stuber, Economic and Community Development. Basically, December, like it's been for a while, it's been really a lot with the grants, some training activities, and I just kind of like to give folks an idea on some of the things that I belong to and participate in. One of them was held in Brunswick, which is through the EDCM. EDCM is the Economic Development Council of Maine. Those are all economic developers throughout the whole state of Maine, which is an organization I am a board member of. And we did a workshop on a year in review, and it was really looking at the state as a whole and some of the other communities and what's been going on in economic development. Some of the speakers were the Maine Downtown Center, Growth Smart Maine, Finance Authority of Maine, Coastal Enterprise, Brunswick Landon, and the Maine Technology Institute of Maine. And then, of course, we had the Office of Policy and Management right at the State House as well, with an economist that kind of came. As you can see, that's always interesting when you're sitting and listening to the economics and what's happening in other communities. But it's good to know what lies ahead for us and how other communities are handling that. So that's always a good thing to be part of. Another organization that I belong to is the Community Development Association. Again, this is a state group, and it's along in with the Department of Economic and Community Development. This is how I know what's happening with the community block grants and being part of this organization. As the administrator for the community development, it's taking the economic development side and putting on the hat of community development and being part of that. As you know, I did approach the council in reference to NEDA. NEDA is the Northeastern Economic Development Association, and I did receive a letter that the board accepted my nomination, so I have been appointed to the board of directors for that organization, and that represents 11 states, including DC. And I'm really excited, and I thank you for allowing me to be part of this organization because, again, I am the only Maine representative that will sit on the board of directors for Maine. So it's kind of neat as far as to have Lisbon. I've gotten some great feedback from the other economic development folks in the other communities, so it's been very positive. Our Brownfields Advisory Committee, we came before council, and the group that was appointed basically will be our consultant will be TRC. They're out of Scarborough. Kelly Race will be the project manager. I have had experience working with Kelly, and she will do just fine as our qualified environmental provider. And they also connect and work closely with Wright Pierce, which is in Thompson. So we will plan on a meeting. I was supposed to meet with Kelly today. However, as everybody else, she's got a terrible cold and had canceled. So we're going to try to get together next week. We will group and start planning our next steps. And once we get together, the first thing we'll be doing is we'll be kind of like a kickoff meeting, and that will be a public meeting and inviting everybody to participate so they can get an idea of brownfields and what that's all about, as well as the advisory committee. The Community Development Block Grant, which is the downtown revitalization. We've had our public, as you spoke, we've had our public meeting and working at the designs. We are looking at solar panel lights. The committee will be meeting again next week, and basically we'll be looking at finalizing the project and then coming before council in February. So we'll have our final design, and then from there be able to go out to bid. The goal of this project is to get something done for Moxie. And the idea, if we're going to have thousands of people come into the community, what better way than to showcase the downtown with new sidewalks, new street lights, some green space, which will be a great addition. The Business Facade Grant Program, I've had a great opportunity. I've been getting emails and phone calls, and businesses are participating in this. They've been asking questions. I've been working very closely with them, and we have our application deadline is January 23rd. So again, once we get the applications, I'll be meeting, pulling the group back together again, and the group has been the Lisbon Development Committee. We'll review the applications. We may speak with some of the business owners and get a little bit more information, and then ultimately it will come back before council to approve the applications. Once those are approved, it goes out to bid. So each project, working with federal dollars, is that it's a bid process just like it is for the municipality, and it's the lowest bid. So each project, depending on if somebody's looking for windows, it will go out to folks that do windows. If it's a general contractor, it will go out to folks that do general contracting. So the idea is creating as much jobs as we can with this project. The Moxie Festival Committee, we have a theme, and the theme is Moxie Salutes, the red, white, and blue. We actually, the committee took 2 theme winners and kind of put 2 themes and put it together as one. So we gave 2 folks the winning prize, I guess, if you will. So the theme winners were Dawn Hartel of Lewiston and Hillary Emery, which is from Millinocket. And I just want to give you a little background on each of them. Dawn is a mom of 3 teenage boys who love to drink Moxie, as well as their whole family attends the festival each year. Because of their love for Moxie, Dawn has competed in the Moxie Recipe Contest for many years. Dawn won first place in her 2015 for her Moxie Candied Bacon Cheese Ball. Dawn entered the Moxie Theme Contest this year because she was excited about the idea of honoring the men and women of the military. For Hillary, Hillary is a veteran of the U.S. Army, a mom of a 7-year-old, a social worker by day, and a small business owner in her spare time, as she puts it. Hillary entered the contest because her little brother was a huge Moxie fan. He was a great baseball player and wore number 17 on his jersey. So when the contest for the 2017 was announced, as well as paying tribute to the military, she thought she would enter in his honor. The deadline was on his birthday. Blair used to ask her to bring him Moxie whenever she went to visit him, a little taste of home. He enjoyed getting his friends to try it too. Blair was killed in action on November 30th, 2007, so when the family sees Moxie, they think of him. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
Facade grant, I know you said you have a lot of businesses interested.
There'll be a few businesses, yeah.
So just anybody turned in any apps yet?
They're not due until the 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just was wondering if anybody had beforehand.
Yeah, no, they haven't turned them in beforehand is because, the process that they have to go through, they have to get quotes. And really, in fact, I had yesterday, no, we weren't here yesterday, today, when somebody had come in and, again, going back through, allowing them that extra time for the 23rd. I probably will be seeing them all turn in at about the same time on the 23rd.
Okay.
They're in the works, and I think they're going to be some terrific projects, just from what I know in working with the businesses and in developing those.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Have you heard from any? Sorry.
Go.
Have you heard from anyone wanting to volunteer for the Moxie Festival?
No,
No one, huh?
no.
Any other questions of Tracy, guys? Thank you.
Welcome.
Before we go to the next item, is your person here yet? We'll keep rolling then. We'll keep rolling. Go for
So
it.
we went a little quick. I think I went a little too quick over the department head written reports, just in case
Yep.
you want to revisit that, if there were any questions.
Did anybody have any question on content of any of the written reports?
No.
All right, so then the next item is audience participation for new items.
Anybody have any questions or presentation from that item? Seeing none? Next item.
Next would be counselor communications.
Winterfest, that was on my list, so thank you.
Sorry, I stole
No,
your
no,
thunder.
that's good. That's good. Any other communications?
Winterfest. Sorry.
It's supposed to be snow tonight, absolutely. So it is a great event. 2 warming stations this year, I heard. So that's a good thing. Moving right along.
Appointments. Order 2017-16, Recreation Committee. This is a term, there is a term to June 30th, 2019, so I thought this might fit very well. And you have an applicant, William Call.
I can speak. Bill's a great guy. I've been trying to unsuccessfully get him to run for some sort of public office here for a while. He's a good. I mean, I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't want to get him involved, because I think getting him on the playground committee will eventually get him into a seat here, or maybe on a finance committee or a planning board or somewhere else. So, sorry, Billy. I kind of hyped you up a little bit, buddy.
Anyone else? I need a
I'll make the motion.
motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Nomination order passed. Okay, next item, there is no executive session, so it would be your presentation.
Absolutely, please.
I just thought of it when you said the appointments. The Lisbon Development Committee, at our last meeting, I also, they had gone through with appointments and terms, so I've asked them to look at that. I guess my question is that most of the committees go through the application process. So if this is something that this committee is going to be required to do, then I want to make sure that we have those applications and the terms are set, and we go through that same process as the other committees. I guess I'm looking for direction.
I say yes.
That makes sense to me. I couldn't see why would we do something different with the LDC committee, and now all the other committees are required to have applications and such. But that's just me.
My only hesitation on that at all is the fact that where it was kind of splintered off from the 196, what do we have on the committee now? I wouldn't want to displace, but I would want to encourage other people to actually join, if I've heard it correctly.
Right. There's room for more members.
Please, anybody else on that part? I would like to be able to
I'll
go.
let Fern speak.
Yes.
There's Fern Larochelle, Lisbon Falls. There's room for 3 or 4, maybe 10, however many people want to show up, but 3 or 4 as far as the official committee. We actually have, I shouldn't say we, I've been actually kind of selling. We have about 3 to 4 members that will be bringing in applications. So, and I did the same thing. I got hold of Jody at town office and have them fill out the same application as all the rest of the committees. If you look at the checklist, they have the rec, but they also have others where they can just fill in any other committee. So we'll use the same application. That way there will be consistent all the way through, just in case they see something else they want to do on there. Maybe they want to do it, right? So, we'll be bringing that forward to the committee, hopefully within the next, by the next meeting, we'll have a few more members we can actually adopt. So when we do make the switch over to the full committee, we'll have a full staff. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Isn't
sounds like a good plan.
Would it be beneficial, Fern, to actually have us put that on the marquee along with the rest of them to actually, if you could take care of that for us for the LDC? The LDC with vacancies to be able to help them fill that. Anything else missing on that topic? All right, you guys are up.
So, Mr. Backman is here with all the materials, so we're going to hand out drafts of the audit report, and I'm going to let Chris do the presentation. But our job as auditors is to express an opinion on your financial statements. There is one modification in the opinion for the lack of inclusion of the water department. That can easily be addressed going forward, so you can get rid of that modification and get a clean opinion on the audit. I haven't been as involved in the wrap-up, although I was involved in the audit, but the status of things now, and Chris will correct me if I'm wrong, is that there were issues with the town and school reconciliation. Myself and another associate are getting together with the school folks and the town folks next week to try to address that and get things wrapped up. So that's why your financial statements are still in draft form. The state requires that the audit be submitted by December 31st, so the school is on extension, but we're going to do everything that we can to get things wrapped up by January 31st, so I don't anticipate that being a problem. You want me to do the management letter, or do you want to go ahead?
And to Greg's point, where these are actually still in draft status, they have enough for this meeting for the council. The rest of the actual part will actually be coming out as soon as the word draft actually comes off the actual document. So they will be going out to the public in the usual format. Go for it, sir.
So in addition to issuing an opinion on your financial statements, we also, as part of the annual audit, review your systems of internal controls, including cash disbursements, cash receipts, payroll, and other decentralized cash locations. We've focused most heavily on any areas where you're collecting cash, and we kind of do that on a rotating basis. In addition to that, because you receive or you expend over $500,000 between town and school of federal expenditures, we're required to issue what's called an A-133 audit or compliance audit on your compliance with certain elements, things like eligibility, allowable costs, things like that. We have a draft of a management letter that consists of other comments that are deemed to be significant enough to be issued in writing to the elected officials. They can come under the heading of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or other comments. And I'll... Chris, do you want me to do that? Or? Okay. So I think the most significant item for discussion is, and I already mentioned it, is the reconciliation between the town and school. It's not unusual that there are difficulties where you have two different accounting systems and information is recorded in summary form on the town side where it's in more detailed form on the school side. It's not a new issue, and it's not unique to Lisbon. However, it is a problem that I think needs to be addressed, and I think in the past there have been some friction, for lack of a better word, between the town and the school, partly because there are different needs on the school side than on the town side, and there are other factors. But I think from our standpoint as auditors, it's a significant issue that needs to be addressed, and I know management on both the town and the school side are anxious to address that too, and we want to be there to assist the town in that process. So we're going to not only finish that reconciliation for the year ended June 30, 2016, but also make recommendations and streamline procedures so that going forward it's not so much of an issue, and things work better if those reconciliations are performed on a timely basis, for example monthly, so that you don't have to go back through a year of information to get that done. And we've already had some of those discussions with Diane and Lydia and excuse me, Haley and Rick. So I'm encouraged that we're going to be able to take steps along with the town to address that going forward. So some of the other management letter comments in draft form.
Can I stop you right there for a second?
Yes.
On that topic, I had a suggestion that was brought to me last week. I'd like to float it here publicly. I applaud the two finance directors actually putting it on the calendar and actually starting to work on these two pieces. I think it might be beneficial if Tracy and Rick and Diane are receptive to it, that we actually meet periodically to actually see where those actually move forward. Rick was actually the one, when I was chasing something else with him last week, that actually mentioned that. Tracy, what are your views on that? Diane? I think, talk the talk here at this point in time. We're doing great means with the finance directors, but if we can get the overview to keep it moving, to give them the assistance to be able to help with that, we're at least doing that service. Thank you. Keep going.
I would agree that that's a great idea, and we'll be happy to participate in any of those meetings as requested. So some of the other comments and incorporated into the management letter are management's responses to our comments and corrective action plans. So I would encourage you to look at those as well, and if Diane wants to address some as we go along, please do. The first is lack of internal controls on the payroll. There was a property tax withholding for certain payroll periods that was not properly remitted. As a consequence, there was a penalty by the Internal Revenue Service for the error. It's since been corrected and taken care of. And the response to that is that the town agrees. In fact, it was the town that brought it to our attention. And the answer to that is ongoing reconciliations of your various withholding accounts from the trial balance to supporting documentation should go a long way to address that. And I do want to commend the town for taking a lot of those steps both last year and continuing this year. The next one is something that I already addressed. The general government departments and school department account reconciliations. I think we've already talked about that at sufficient length, but again, I think there's perhaps a better environment for that in many respects going forward. There were one of the procedures that we do as part of the audit is review the outstanding checklist for old outstanding checks, and there's a procedure whereby those get remitted to the state as unclaimed property. So there were several checks that were over 120 days old, and I know that there have been steps to address that issue as well. Another comment was, as the town converts to Munis software, and even prior to that, there were processes done external of the accounting software on Excel spreadsheets, for example, and other decentralized areas where the software is capable of handling many of those things. So our recommendation is just that any software that's utilized by the town be utilized to the maximum efficiency, to not have duplicate processes where that information could be inaccurate. And we understand that the town is in the process of a conversion, which is no small feat. Another comment that we noted was the organization of general ledger accounts. And I think this is another area where, as you do a conversion to new software, and I know that this project was taken on by the prior finance director, and I'm not up to speed on where all that stands, but it's a good time to streamline the general ledger and to establish new funds so that things aren't commingled all on one trial balance. So we recommend that that the account structure be reviewed in accordance with the state's recommendations for a chart of accounts, which they've put out some recommendations, and it's as I mentioned, it's a good time to do that. Fiscal control and administration of grants. We're recommending that a formal written procedures be put in place regarding the process for applying for administration and tracking of federal and/or state grants and contracts. The current practice, and again, this isn't unusual, but it is something that we look closely at, is that oftentimes the process is decentralized throughout the various departments, and at times the finance department does not get the information on a timely basis in order to properly account for and administer those grants. And again, this is with the conversion to Munis a good time to address that issue as well. Another area we look at is, while the town does have many written policies and procedures, they aren't necessarily summarized in one location. So we recommend the town initiate a review of all fiscal procedures and policies at the town to ensure they reflect current practice, contain adequate internal controls that reduce the town's exposure to loss and misappropriation of funds, and are consistent with the town charter and in compliance with state and federal grant guidelines. The town, as many of you probably know, was self-insured for a time in its health care plan. That has since changed. However, even though the town discontinued that, the reserve for claim losses was still underfunded, creating a deficit position in the fund subsequent to year end. So we just recommend that the town address that issue going forward. Another comment is related to some of the things that we've talked about, general ledger reconciliations, things like reconciling payroll tax liabilities, cash accounts, obviously, receivable and payable accounts on an ongoing basis, preferably monthly. And we recommend that the town reconcile within 20 days from month end all general ledger accounts. And I do want to point out that you took a lot of good steps last year to get to that point, and continued to do that this year. So I commend you for those efforts. Cross-training. Currently, the town has no defined backup for the finance position. Obviously, a vital position, so we recommend some cross-training. It's not always easy with limited staff to accomplish that, but where possible, cross-training so that more than one person can perform the various accounting functions. The goal being that a redundancy of the town manager's fiscal bookkeeper's vital day-to-day functions are available to distribute amongst the other office staff in aggregate. One thing that we test as part of our testing of your payroll systems is whether staff have properly filled out the Form I-9. There were several I-9s based on our test that should have been there that weren't. So we recommend that be reviewed. The periodic review of the individual personnel files be completed and updated by management. Purchase orders. While performing the audit for the fiscal year, we found that several purchase orders were received after the invoices and the products had already been received, thereby kind of eliminating the necessity for that control. Those obviously should be prepared and approved prior to the receipt of the goods or services. Cash receipting motor vehicle. There were a few instances where the number was incorrectly entered into the cash receipting report, and a few instances where the wrong number was entered into the report. One of the voided registrations had only 3 out of the 4 copies, so we recommend review of this area as well. Town reporting to vendors. It was noted that the finance director transferred investments and consolidated banking accounts into one investment account by year end. It should be noted that when doing this, the investment account had the finance director's name and personal address associated with the account. We recommend the town provide only its town identity for all account relationships with vendors. And that's all I had for the management letter, but again, there's management responses and corrective actions prepared in writing along with the management letter comments, and I'll turn it over to Chris to go over some of the financial information.
Thank you for having us. Chris Backman, R.H.R. Smith. You have 2 documents in front of you, 100 pages, and about 12. I don't know which one you want to start with, or
12.
12? So it says page 9.
Okay.
This is kind of the report that I like to go over, because it gives the budget, what you thought you were going to take in, what you thought you were going to spend, and where you actually ended up. The left-hand column is your original budget. The next column is your final budget. The third column is your actual amounts, and the fourth column is the difference. So down on the bottom, you started the year with $3.2 million in your fund balance. Based on the revenues you took in and the expenses you expended, your fund balance went up by roughly $1.1 million to a balance of 4.4.
Go team.
Pardon?
I said go team.
Excellent. In the larger 100-page document, there is more detail on where you hit and where you missed. Page 62 of that document is the same page 9. There was excerpted out. But if we turn to page 67, that gives a little more detail of your revenues. And again, left-hand column, original budget, adjustments, final budget, actual. So you will see in more detail where your variances were positive and negative. The following pages, 68 and 69, break down more detail of your expenses.
Any questions that come to mind, guys?
What if you keep finding us money?
Pardon?
Not if you don't keep finding us money, is it? Diane, from your perspective, having had a chance, a little more dialogue, is there anything that they've presented that you would add to it or have them go into?
I haven't actually had a chance to look at this. Can you tell me what page the unassigned fund balance is? That's the one I'm most interested in.
I saw that in the 12.
Is it
It's in the 12 pages too.
Page 1. So on the very left-hand column is your general fund.
Page 1.
And your unassigned is the second to last, no, third to last number on that column. 2.783.
12 pager.
Is that up or down from last year? That's what I remember.
Page 1.
So the 100-page will have that answer.
2.1 or 2.2 last year? The only thing I'll add about some of the findings that Greg went over just a little while ago is a lot of those are going to be addressed with the new software. The grant, there's a grant administration part of that new software. Purchase orders will be done. You won't be able to actually purchase something unless the purchase orders go through the system first. So it's going to take care of a lot of those little details that were noted in our management letter this year. As for the health insurance and that unfunded liability, we did get word back from the self-insured company today that there are no outstanding claims and they can only assess claims for a year after it closes. We're beyond that point now, so we'll not have any more claims. So whatever happened in this fiscal year that's being audited, that's it. No more claims. So we have no more liability,
That's great.
which is good.
Just to kind of go along with what you were saying, maybe it'd be a good idea to add to our goals for this year, to take the recommendations of the auditors here, and we can talk about some of the things that you just mentioned that were being addressed through the software, and say, here's what the auditor's recommendations were, here's what we implemented to put in place to address that, so we can see where we've gone ahead to make adjustments, and then where we still need to make adjustments. But that would be good if we could get something together so we can kind of make sure that we're on task and keeping our eyes and making that visible.
Can I expand on that and offer our hand in that process?
Absolutely.
And I understand that we have offered, and we'd like to come in quarterly and kind of review the reports with you to go over where you stand, you know, on a quarterly basis.
Yep.
You know, I think the software to put the ball, you know, in play and to get those reconciliations and to get everybody in the room to understand, you know, going forward, what do you need, what do we need, and to put the past practice behind you and go forward.
Amen. Testify.
And we'd offer to, we'd love to be involved, you know.
Can I ask a question? Page 4, how does it differ from page 1? What am I missing?
The big one or the little one?
Little one.
The 12. Yes, I'm sorry.
12 or 100? Unassigned fund balance. Yeah. 2.783, yeah. Pretty big variance there.
My guess is that might be just the town portion without the school involved.
Okay.
You know, not.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair because the representation on number 1 would include both. So by all means,
Does everybody understand the chemistry of what makes up that fund balance?
right.
I was thinking our fund balance last year was more than that, though.
Yeah, right. But if you said if it's just the town side stripped aside, separate from the school,
Fund balance include the school?
the page 1 clearly does.
Well, not the unassigned doesn't. The 1.6 million, the restricted.
Right, but the unassigned is just ours.
Correct. But on the page 4, I'm assuming that might be some more chemistry of that 2.7. It could be an update from 11 o'clock this afternoon.
yeah.
That day.
Oh, so you mean
Yeah.
that might need to be updated further?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I was going with it. I was hoping, knowing to get you here, that's clearly why it still says the draft piece of it. Is just,
Yeah.
That came, when I flip to that and I see the big one here that says it, and then it's
Yeah.
a very different one than one that you guided us
Well,
to.
I want to go by that one.
Yeah. Oh, so
think
do
we
I.
all do.
So
There's
do
a lot
I.
more
So do I. It's
all do.
$700,000 favorable. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
$750,000. We'll kind of keep
So-
that in our pocket if nobody wants
Okay.
it terribly.
Any other questions?
I could talk all night about it. So, unless you have questions.
The management letter that you were referring to, Greg, where is that in the draft that we're looking at here? Or is that
It's not part of this.
separate document that's still coming because you guys are still massaging, or when do we see
I
that?
think there was management responses going back and
Right.
forth and corrective actions. And I don't think that's been
Okay.
finalized yet.
Okay. And then you listed a time frame for when that final version?
For the management letter,
Yep.
I'm
not pushing. What I'm trying to frame associated to that is we have 2 finance directors that are actually committed to actually starting the working action. If the superintendent, myself, school committee chair, and I are actually to be able to do it, when would that first meeting time frame? Just trying to figure out when that would be conducive to begin this dialogue.
Our goal would be to have things wrapped up by January 31st.
the school draft was on extension to January 31st. And
Exactly. That's the first goal, by all means.
And
Yes.
they're getting together. We're getting together with the school to finalize their document.
Right.
Next week.
Exactly. So, Rick and Tracy, sometime February, we could schedule something on that to be able to at least begin that dialogue to hear it out.
Since you called me up, yes, I am putting all my eggs in the basket that we will have our report to meet our deadline with the state.
Yes, you will.
So, yes, February, we should be able to have both reports.
Matt, that's the only reason I brought it up at all, is just kind of in packaging. We know we got, I like hearing the critical assessment of where we're at in that regard. We know we got the challenges. I want to speak to, the reason Lydia is actually sitting here is to be able to address the issues with her skill set that she comes from the private sector. So I believe we're in the best position to move this forward with the communication between us and the school department.
And I'd like to help you push that forward.
Right.
And you're going in the right direction.
Yep.
And I just think it's fair to point out that it wasn't that the school wasn't ready for us.
Nope.
For the audit. It was the town school reconciliation issue. So I didn't want to leave that open. That
And I have said it to the school chair, and I'll say it here. The fact is, the issues at this point in time, my understanding, are on our side to be able to make that reconciliation, because it is our responsibility as part of this process. It is not on the school side at this point. So, how's that?
Good job, Alan.
That was a pretty bipolar conversation, huh?
I have one question for you. Haley and I
Thank you.
currently have a meeting set for the week of the 25th. Is that something you would like us to hold off on until everybody gets together, or is that okay to go ahead and...
You guys have other stuff to be able to do that in that regard. What I like about what you guys have set up is the fact that rather than just give lip service to do it, you've actually got it on the calendar so you can keep things moving for you guys. So whatever if it's a monthly meeting, whatever you're doing, stick to your schedule.
Okay.
I would just say that when we get this, that we can start moving forward, that it'd be just that piece to get us around it so we know what we need to do to help you guys be able to make it happen.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, there was conversations for us to come in quarterly.
Yep.
If you would like us to come in monthly at the beginning and work to a quarterly schedule, that's
Sure.
on the table, so.
Sure. In that regard, at this point, when we know more where we're at, when getting past next week's goal of the what the schools need to be able to make their 31st deadline, that'll give us a little breathing room associated with that, because I know that, rolling right out of the gate, they're right in the middle of their budget in that regard as well too. So it's timely. So thank you guys. I appreciate everything to get to this point, and I guess I'll repeat again. It says draft tonight because be able to make this presentation, the information for the public will be forthcoming to be able to get that information out there as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at us.
What's that?
I said, look at us all cooperating and getting along.
All right. Next item.
To adjourn.
That's what I thought it was.
I make the motion.
I'll second that. Get 'em high.
Zero. All of
Don, don't take off.
Take off. Oh, I didn't even see him sitting there. I wanted to ask him about something.
Not at all. Well, there was a good chunk of it. He talked about how Ed was trying to reconcile all of the many Ed mentioned many times when he was here, but one thing that he failed to mention was